right, you guys, welcome. A lot of stuff going on. It has been a very, very busy week. My name is Donovan Sadiq, and I want to welcome you guys to Unapologetic, the podcast. It is August 16th, 2020. It's about 11:40 a.m. Just want to see how you guys are doing. Do a little homework here. Going to set everything up because I'm going to mass produce this because I don't want you guys to just sit there and be thinking that, you know, I'm making a lot of this stuff up. So we're going to be doing a StreamYard cast. A lot of kids have gone back to school. Tomorrow for me, I have one class to complete. I'm doing an instrument refresher course. So you guys know that I have a background in aviation. I fly airplanes, and that's what I did in the military for 24 years as a aircraft mechanic and a operations person and a pilot and all that other good stuff. I don't like to brag about myself, but I think I shall. So, yeah, tomorrow my class starts where everything's going to be done via internet. And we're supposed to be in the simulator. So if you know anything about flying an instrument, everything is, you know, you don't look outside your cockpit. You're flying strictly by the instruments. But here's the question. How are we going to do that if everybody doesn't have the tools to do it? So that's another question. But good thing for me, because of my background, I have the yoke, I have the pedals, I have Microsoft Flight Simulator in various forms. My most recent is the Microsoft Simulator X. I think that the 2020 just came out, so don't quote me on that, but you know. So it's going to be interesting, and this is my one class. This will be my 12th degree, my 11th associate degree, and it's in aviation, and it's an operations management degree. And you know, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you know, he's getting all these degrees. You know, am I going to go back in the workforce?" No, I'm not going back into the workforce. I'm just gonna, you know, do what I do and keep it like that. Just keep it moving, you know. So. A lot of stuff is going on, and I was watching the news this morning, and I was watching AM Joy, which is a big Kamala Harris supporter, and they were saying in the show that, you know, Kamala Harris, when Kamala Harris was announced as the VP this week, Joe Biden's approvability rating to be president, and what he's beating Trump by, is 4 points. Has dropped by 4 points. So within a week, they've already lost 4 points. Now, then they go into the segment, people have to get out and vote. I mean, they're just slamming that, you know, putting in the onus on the voter. And don't get me wrong, Trump needs to be removed. There's no doubt about that. But don't you think that if Trump needs to be removed, maybe they should give us better candidates? Because let's face it, Kamala was not supported overwhelmingly by black voters in the primary. So now the onus is on black people who in the last election, 80% of all black people that were eligible to vote overwhelmingly voted for Hillary. Nobody talks about the white Democratic women who went into the booth and voted for Trump. Because a lot of the areas that Trump won were very close elections. So, but once again, every election, it's pivotal for black people to vote. It's just that important. And we've got to save everybody. And I'm just like, wow, this just doesn't, for me, it just doesn't make sense. You know, I mean, every election is pivotal, and then we do it. We put on our cape, we play Captain Save-A-Ho, and we get nothing for our vote, for us. So, again, you guys, my name is Donovan Sadiq. Welcome to the podcast. Wait, and matter of fact, let's just talk about this right now. You guys, welcome, you guys. We're also doing this on Facebook Live. So, you guys, welcome to the podcast. I am Donovan Sadiq. You are watching Unapologetic. And so what I've been talking about, you guys, is the fact that Kamala Harris was added to the ticket this week. And when she was added to the ticket, Joe Biden's availability to beat Donald Trump fell by 4 points. And once again, it's up to black people to go out there and save the Democratic Party. And we've got to vote. But, okay, it's only been a week. And if the ticket dropped 4 points, doesn't that tell the Democratic establishment that maybe we have some pretty bad candidates here? You have a mass incarceration ticket if you look at it by what it is. So this week I have been called coon. And, I just, when people talk about MAGA, how bad MAGA crowds are, it's crazy to me because Democratic black people are just as bad as MAGA crowd people because we're not monolithic. So whatever happened to the point of people voting their interests, but we start deflecting, we start doing this. And the funny thing is, when you tell people, just go look at their record. And if you're cool with a mass incarceration ticket, that's fine with me. I don't have a problem. I just want you to have all the information, brother. I want you to have all the information. So I tell some people, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But we got to get Trump out of there. I understand that. But a bigot is a bigot. A racist is a racist. I'm not saying Trump has to stay in there. But why is the onus always on black people to go out there and vote and help us remove this person? But then on day one, you're going to do DACA, Dreamers, non-citizens, mind you, and LGBTQ. These groups cannot get Joe Biden to the White House. But we're not supposed to ask for anything? So a lot of people who think they know Kamala Harris's record, and it's funny how they know so much about Kamala Harris, and they live in Maine, or they live in Baltimore, or they live in Mississippi, but they know everything there is to know about Kamala Harris. But then you ask a person who lives in California, who was under Kamala Harris's jurisdiction as Attorney General, drastically different views of Kamala Harris. Oh, she's a sororo. Symbolism. What does that mean? She's a sororo. So what? She's a sororo. But on the War Zone this Thursday, I want to give you guys proper information. This Thursday on the 20th, we are going to have a woman who was locked up under the truancy law that Kamala Harris championed. Now, I was talking to a guy earlier today, and he says, well, the Attorney General's not, has an obligation to follow the law. That is not true. And we see that in what's happening with AG Barr and the Epstein case and all these other things. And a prosecutor's job is to seek justice, however that may be, to do it. Sometimes you might have to let guilty people go to seek justice. So a good example, like Epstein. Look at the plea deal he was given in, I think, 2008. This guy was a monster. But nobody really prosecuted him. They gave him a year, put him in jail, which he could come out for 12 hours out of the day and do his business and, and still continue to molest and rape women, young girls and, and stuff like that, with his buddies, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, the usual suspects. But nobody seems to talk about that kind of stuff. but Kamala, she has to follow the law specifically to how she's going to do it. No, that's not true. They're supposed to seek justice. And in this case, with this young lady, under the truancy law, Kamala Harris will sit up there in those debates, and she told people, well, nobody got arrested under the thing. That's a lie. That's a lie. This is a lady who was arrested. And later, of course, the fact of the matter is the case was dropped. But the point is she was arrested under those auspices because her daughter missed a significant amount of school because her daughter had sickle cell. Okay? And, you know, you could throw all kinds of stuff in it, but that was a law that was introduced, as most laws are, to mass incarcerate black and brown people in alarming rates here in California. So people are saying, well, we got to get Trump out of there. I cannot support a ticket that massively affected my community. That's Donovan Sadiq's stance, okay? So this lady is going to be on the war zone, and that's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Time. And that would be 8 p.m. Eastern Time if you want to tune in. And she's going to tell us exactly what happened. So as I'm being called coon and all this other stuff, and you know, when people are forced to call you names and they don't even know you, those are people that are most likely uneducated about the situation, because it ain't like I'm making an untruth. These are facts. These are facts. Kamala Harris, against the California Supreme Court, kept prisoners in prison for the prison industrial complex and corporations to use the cheap labor. And she even made a statement saying that is one of the reasons why we should keep them incarcerated against the California Supreme Court. And she was admonished for that, not only by the California Supreme Court, but by the California Bar Association. This woman is an opportunist. I don't have to bring up her past because we know she started her political career. She's only been in politics, you guys, 16 years. You know, she's only 3 years older than I am. And no, it doesn't matter. She's a senator now, whatever the, you know, I keep hearing this argument. Her past is her past. Okay, well, if that's her past, then let's go ahead and forgive Epstein. Let's go ahead and forgive R. Kelly. Let's go ahead and forgive Bill Cosby. Let's go ahead and forgive Trump a couple of years ago. You know, since we're on this forgiveness kick, it just doesn't make sense to me how you can hold a person to this standard, but then another person you're holding to this standard. So on my page specifically on Facebook, I have a lot of friends. Like I said, I was in the military, and they have very drastic views. You know, military is apolitical. We're not really supposed to have a stance. But, you know, human nature is people have a stance. So, hey, Shannon. Hey, I see you. And I'm going to show your comment there. That's right, 100, damn it. But, you know, people usually have a stance. And I just noticed that when I was roasting Trump and calling out his bullshit and the Republican bullshit, nobody seemed to have a problem with that. You know? Nobody seemed to have a problem with me calling out the Republicans and their bullshit. So if you didn't have a problem with me doing that, why do you have a problem with me calling out the Democrats and their bullshit? And yes, the MAGA crowd is a fucking beast. But the black Democrats, man, I mean, how are you going to argue with me on something that is a facial fact? And every time you come with them with the facts, and I'm not saying everybody, but you guys know where I'm going with this, because you're going to always have that person in the comments, well, what about this? Well, what about that? No. Because they can't formulate the argument. Well, what about AG Barr? What the hell does Attorney General Barr have to do with a presidential election? He's a dirtbag like the rest of them, but he's not running for president or vice president. So it's irrelevant. Yeah, he's a dirtbag, but that's irrelevant to the conversation. We're talking about Kamala Harris, okay? Kamala Harris is what we're talking about. Let's stay on point here. But see, these are people who go with the soundbite. So here's an example of the soundbite. If you guys have been following my page, just look me up, Donovan Sadiq, on Facebook. The Democrats keep telling you Kamala Harris is the first black woman, now being black woman instead of woman of color, to hold a slot on a national ticket. Very historic, right? Very historic. First black woman to do it. Yes. Woohoo! Yeah. Yeah. Kamala Harris. Historic, no matter how you look at it. That's not true. Oh, how can you say that? And this is what I mean about sound bites, because the very first real black woman, when I say real, if Kamala calls herself black, fine, that's fine. You can call yourself black only when you're running in the presidential election, because a lot of articles about you is you're Eastern, Indian, and all this other stuff, and whatever. But that's another story. But she wants to call herself black for now. I'll go with that narrative, okay? She was not the first black woman to run on a national ticket. That's not true. Angela Walker is the first black woman to do that. And again, you have my Democratic black friends. Oh, you just hate black women and da-da-da-da-da. Yes, I will admit, I am an Ike Turner disciple. I love Ike Turner. I love his artistry. I love the movie. A lot of stuff in the movie was embellished. You cannot break your jaw, then go on stage and sing. If you read the book I, Tina, I doubt a lot of you ever read that book. Was Ike Turner a flawed man? Yes, he was. But was his relationship any different than hundreds of thousands of relationships back in those days? Absolutely not. Yes, he was a very abusive man. Now, that doesn't mean I like that aspect of him, okay? I like the fact that, he's he in his time, he was a man's man. I'm a traditional man. Simple as that. I'm traditional. I believe I have a role. I can't call myself a man and I'm living in my girlfriend's house or I'm living in my girl's house. You kind of know what I'm saying there? So Donovan, you're just a misogynist and you hate women and da-da-da-da. How do I hate women if I'm just sitting here trying to tell you, here is a black woman, black woman, and a military veteran, and a grandmother, and a transportation driver, an everyday real woman. And I'm highlighting her on my page. So your argument about Kamala being the first, that's a lie. And why is the major news networks keep trying to tell you that? How do you keep going with that narrative? It's totally ridiculous. Shannon says, those comments under Jerry Wayne Monroe's post about Miss Peoples coming on the war zone is absolutely disrespectful and ignorant. Exactly. If you guys get a chance, go to the war zone and Jerry Wayne Monroe. He's the 5-star general. You will see the comments. We are saying that this woman has been invited to tell her story because remember, Kamala is a lie and she's an opportunist. They don't want me to talk about how she started her career as the mistress of Willie Brown. Okay, they don't want to bring that up. They don't want me to bring up the fact that her office was admonished for lying in court depositions and all this kind of stuff that went on. And every time she was called to the carpet on it, she had no knowledge of it. It was somebody in her office, but yet the buck is supposed to stop with her. Kind of sounds like Trump. And you guys tell me that this is a good ticket because I was one of the first people. I said, wow, Joe Biden, this is not good. This is not good. Okay, out of 30 possibilities, the best you guys could come up with was Dixiecrat Joe Biden. That was scary enough. So, okay, we got Joe Biden. I said, well, hopefully he'll pick somebody that will unite this party and everybody could kind of just say, hey, let's get it going. No, they nominate a person who overwhelmingly was rejected by black voters in the presidential primary. She was overwhelmingly rejected. She was predicted to come in third in the California primaries. So you mean to tell me you're going to take a person, forget her gender, a person with a record like that, Joe Biden with his record, and you are going to make this ticket a winning ticket? Do the Democrats really want to win? Are they trying to win? Because I'm trying to figure it out, because as a political person, this pick didn't make any sense. You need the progressives. The baby boomers are no longer the biggest group of voters anymore. You got the Generation Xers, you have the millennials, and you have the Generation Ys. So it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, how we do this. So hey, there's Jerry's coming on. Yeah, let me send you a link out there, so if you want to jump on here, because we're actually doing a podcast at the same time. So let me send you a link. Hold on. So we're going to have the 5-star general come on and give his take, because if you watched the show last night, made some pivotal points. So let me see. Let me send this to you. So give me a second, you guys. It's going to go. Here we go. And I'll try to bring you. Oh, you know what? I don't think I can bring you in on this one. I'm on my desktop. Damn it. Well, let's try. Well, okay, wait. Let's see if I can get it. Damn it. It's not on here. I can't get it. I can't. I can't get it. I can't get it. Get it. I don't even know which one I was on. There we go. Reconnect. Okay, here we go. I'm back on. So again, we're back. Sorry I missed you guys. I missed that. Let me get back onto the stream. Sorry about that, you guys. Yeah, on this one, I'm on my desktop. I can't get you in. If I was on the desktop, I can get you in. But again, check out Jerry Wayne Monroe's topic there, and go to his page, and you're going to see a lot of comments in regards. So this ticket doesn't make sense in its auspices. So I want you guys to really think about that. They never want to talk about the facts of what Kamala Harris brings to this ticket. If this ticket dropped 4 points, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, the polls don't matter, and we know the polls don't matter, because they told us that Hillary Clinton had an 80% chance. It's a slam dunk, basically. And that's why a lot of people say, well, it's a slam dunk. I don't have to worry about it, right? So you shouldn't really trust polls. But in this case, with the climate that we have with George Floyd and defunding the police and all these things, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, you name it, you mean to tell me black people are going to support a ticket that is a law enforcement mass incarceration ticket? This ticket, the Biden ticket, dropped 4 points in a week. And as more people get informed about Kamala Harris, it's going to drop even further. I'm not saying that they can't pull out a win in this situation against Trump. It's going to be a very, very close race. And a lot of people will stay home because they're waking up and saying, okay, if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to win this election, and I'll ask anybody out there right now, what is their platform right now? This is the guy that told you he's for the status quo. This is the guy that said, well, why do you got to shoot him in the back? Just shoot him in the leg. This is the guy that has not apologized for his crime bill. This is the guy that wants to give more money to police departments. This is the guy who refuses to remove qualified immunity. This is a guy that has said, innuendoly, slyly, that depending on what Trump is charged with and what its inclination is, if he's the president, he might not give a pardon because he doesn't know what it is yet, what he's going to be charged with. He said that in an interview. The one where he's in his basement, that one. He said, well, I'm not going to say, basically he said he's not going to stop the prosecution. So let's say Trump is being prosecuted. And if it's in the best thing of the nation, he's going to wait and see. How many of you guys are going to vote for him then? Isn't that what Gerald Ford did with Nixon? It's in the best interest of the country that I think, we keep bringing this stuff out to you guys and we keep telling you guys how it's going to be and nobody seems to want to listen. I'm for getting Trump out. I really am. But this is not the ticket that's going to do it. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to be staying home. The progressives, they're gone. The Bernieites, they're gone. But the 5-star general said this on his show. Yeah, the 5-star general didn't get this on the show. Yeah, General, I'm on my desktop and it won't link for some reason. It won't link and send the link. So if I was on my laptop, it would, but I'm on the desktop, so it just won't link. It's something it's an older computer. It's just something, I think it's the program itself, SteamYard, and being an older computer. So I'm on Windows 7. I think I should need to be on Windows 10 at least. But for some reason, this computer, I can't share, I can't do anything, because I would rather be on the desktop than my laptop, but I can't do it. So, if you're cool with a mass incarceration ticket, we're not telling you not to vote what you want to vote. Go vote that ticket. But how many of you have Ray Ray and Pookie and your father went to jail? Now, I'm 50 years old. So how many of you guys have issues because your daddy or your mom was incarcerated for drugs or all these other things? That was Joe Biden that did that. Okay? So now for the VP, he's going to put a woman who is a tool of white supremacy. She was the worst AG in California history. That's just a fact. And nobody wants to acknowledge that. But we're not here to tell you who to vote for. We're here to give you information so that you can be an informed voter, if you even are going to vote. I and those of us on the war zone, we say down ballot. When we say hold the vote, we're not saying don't vote. We're saying vote down ballot. You might want to skip the presidential. And you might as well, because Bush versus Gore in 2000, the Supreme Court ruled your vote really doesn't matter anyway. And see, this is what they do to distract you, the Democrats and the Republicans. They keep you fighting against this system because there's no other options. Well, there are other options. You can write in a candidate. There's the Green Party. There's the Libertarian Party. A real democracy has more than two parties. But see, what you guys don't understand and what you're not understanding is it doesn't always have to be that way. At one time, we were all Republicans. Why were we Republicans? Did anybody answer that question? This is a master class of history. We were Republican because the Republican Party under Lincoln freed the slaves. So we gave our allegiance to the Republican Party. And we did that up until 1932. Okay, so you're talking about almost 50, 60 years as hardcore Republicans. What happened? Well, the Great Depression happened, FDR happened, and then next thing you know, the Democrats said, hey, all these white boys are going off to war. World War II started and stuff, and there was opportunities to move up north to Detroit and went to these cities and hold these jobs, and they started doing these programs. You got the Tuskegee Airmen. You got all this stuff that was happening that had never happened before. Opportunity, right? All this opportunity. And because of all of this opportunity, we all of a sudden became Democrats. The very Democrats, even at that time, that was pro-KKK, pro-terrorist group. The very first terrorist group in the world was created here in the United States. But nobody wants to talk about that. And we still have them today. And Dixiecrat Joe, bigot Joe Biden, he's a longtime Dixiecrat. Go to YouTube and look at him bragging about his friendships with Strom Thurmond and the Southern representatives and senators and things like that. Joe Biden has been in the Senate since he was 29 years old. This is another bad candidate. Was Hillary a very qualified candidate? The most qualified. That's why I don't understand people say I just hate women. She was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president. You can't take that away from her. But what did her in? It was her 30 to 40 year record in the public square. Super predators. She was a Goldwater girl. All that. She was a Republican before she became a Democrat. Trump was a lifelong Democrat. I think he still is. He's just running as a Republican. He doesn't care. And that's what's going on, you guys. We really have to ask yourself this. Are you really excited about this ticket? Does it excite you? Does it make you moist? I'm very skeptical about this ticket. It's almost like, okay, I'm here in LA. It's almost like you see the Clippers and you know they got two superstars on it, okay, hypothetically. But you know in the end the Clippers are going to implode in the playoffs. You just know it, another example, Dallas Cowboys had some great teams. Dallas Cowboys haven't won a championship in almost 26 years, almost 26 years, if not longer. The last championship was in 1995, so that would put them about 25 years. Why? They had the personnel. They had everything going for them. Could it be the bad coaching? What is it? And that's how I feel about this team. It's like they get there, they get in the playoffs, then this shows up, and then you just know they're not going to make it. Just the disappointment of it. And that's how I feel about this ticket. And I'm not the only one that feels about this ticket that way. You guys can't sit there and tell me that how you felt about Obama when he first ran is the same as how you feel about this ticket. There's no way. There's just no way in hell you can tell me you feel the exact same way. I hope Trump gets removed. I do. But I just don't see it happening. We have to start basically realizing what is going on. They love to make us vote against our own interests. They love it. Notice how Kamala, chameleon, she keeps changing her narrative every time. She never identified as a black person. She never did. That's a fact. She never identified as black. Then she gets into politics. Now she's running for president. All of a sudden she's black. And, I saw something the other night where she was saying that, her lifetime here in the United States. She didn't live here a lifetime in the United States. I think when she was 8 years old, her mother moved to Canada after the relationship broke up or whatever. She had a better opportunity up there. And She was in Canada for most of her formative years as a teenager, then came to Howard later on. So she hasn't lived here her whole life. Is she an American? Yeah, she was born here. She was born here in Alameda County, okay? But you also got to remember, Kamala's thought pattern about black people isn't ADOS, okay? American descendant of a slave. That's what ADOS is. Those of us that have been here, our lineage is here, and it goes back to slavery. We can trace it back to slavery here in the United States. If you are a person of Caribbean descent, and yes, there was slavery in the Caribbean. There was slavery down there. There's no doubt about it, okay? But your lineage isn't the United States. Your lineage would be Britain or France or whatever country owned that place. So our lineages are different. So if Kamala was raised by her mother, who comes from the highest Indian caste, because remember, they have a caste system there, and they call them masalas. One of my favorite Denzel Washington movies of all time is Mississippi Masala. Go watch that. That's a very good movie to watch in regards to how relationships play out in the Indian culture. And go on YouTube and look it up. The darker Indians, it just seems like every culture, if you're dark-skinned, you're at the bottom. They just want to keep you at the bottom. Because if you look at the Cubans, even though 80% of Cuba is dark-skinned, the light-skinned ones owned all of the land and think they're better than the dark ones. And if you ever go to Cuba and you say Fidel Castro ain't shit, those black Cubans will beat the crap out of you. True story. They will beat the crap out of you because it wasn't for Fidel Castro, who was a light-skinned Cuban. The black people were not educated under Batista, who was also light-skinned. Because remember, Fidel came from what they would call privilege. But he saw the disparity, and he was giving the land to the people. That's why he is so loved by the dark Cubans. It's like, and it's funny because when people say Cuban, to me, there's no difference. You're from Cuba, so light skin, dark. It's like us being black. You got light skin, dark skin, whatever. We're all the same. We're black. Here in America. So he was the one that did that and made it fair. But then you got these Cubans that migrated to the United States after Castro kicked them out and was going to murder them and kill them and get some retribution and some what it's called get back. They're the ones talking about, oh, we lost all this land and all this other stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get it. You have a vendetta. But unfortunately, when the majority, that's what I'm saying, people talk about democracy. They don't believe in democracy. Rich people do not believe in democracy. They believe in corporate socialism. All about the elite. It's elitism. That's what you call it, elitism. Why are we constantly bailing out these banks and these corporations no matter what they do, and yet we never get our money back? Why are we constantly giving tax breaks out to the rich, and yet they do nothing for the common good? Nothing. But I'm the crazy one. Donovan Sadiq is the crazy one. So we really have to get out of this vote who no matter who. Vote blue no matter who. It's stupid. And we have less than 90 days for this election. If Kamala Harris's and the Democratic ticket dropped 4 points in a week, wow. Tomorrow's, I guess, the Democratic virtual party, whatever, nomination party, whatever the deal is. I got a question for you guys. If the Democrats and the Republicans aren't the same party, why is John Kasich speaking at the Democratic nomination process party? John Kasich, one of the last bastions of old school conservatism. He is a speaker at the Democratic convention. Not Andrew Yang. Don't want him there. He's too progressive. Not Elizabeth Warren. She's not progressive enough, so they don't want her there. You guys see where I'm going with this? Establishment Democrats working with establishment Republicans, and nobody's even questioning that? So if you think voting Trump is bad because the Republican Party is for the rich and they don't like black people and all this other stuff, why aren't you questioning the fact that they're working hand in hand in the Democratic Party? I'm just saying. I'm just asking a question. Like I said, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm totally crazy. I'm totally paranoid. I'm a PTSD soldier. I have no right to talk about politics because I didn't go overseas and fight. I didn't pick up a gun and risk my life for democracy. So I am totally illegitimate and ill-equipped to talk about my right to intelligently choose what is in my best interests. I'm totally wrong for that. Totally wrong for calling out Republicans and not calling out Democrats for the same exact thing. That's what I do. I'm just totally, it's just so funny how, and I'm not saying you have to be in the military to be a good citizen and all that other stuff. What I'm saying is it's funny how people who don't know anything about other people are quick to tell them how to be a patriot. And I'm not telling you how to be a patriot, but above anybody else, I don't care if you are a Hitler, David Duke, devil-worshipping, Republican-loving person. If you sign that dotted line and you went into the military for whatever your reasons were at the time and you went out there and you fought for this country, you have a right to say whatever it is you think is in your best interest, because guess what? You picked up that gun and you walked the post. If you are out there and you are advocating for your community and you're standing up and you're not hiding behind the keyboard and becoming a keyboard gangster, it's real nice and tough, then you deflect. You have a right to talk about what you're talking about because you're putting it on the line. And for me, you have nothing but respect. So you guys, I'm Donovan Sadiq. This is Unapologetic, the podcast. I want to also remind you to tune in Thursday. The young lady, Miss Peoples, who was arrested under the truancy law that Kamala Harris said nobody got arrested, is going to be on the war zone. And that is at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm telling you guys, this lady's going to come and she's going to talk her truth. I was doing some stuff in my neighborhood, the Inland Empire. I got some documents I've dropped on this page in particular as well. And so I was doing that. So when I got the news that this lady was going to be on the show, I am definitely going to sit there and listen to this story because I want to hear it from the cow's mouth. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I want to hear it because Kamala will say this. Oh no, she's a liar. The lady lied. Look at the record. But here's my concern before we go. My concern is a 4-point drop in 1 week. A 4-point drop. It's bad enough he's dealing with the post office and trying to rig this election. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're worried about Donald Trump rigging the election and messing with the post office, get your ass down to the voting registration place. Make sure, number one, you're registered. Number one, make sure you're registered. Number two, vote early, and it wouldn't be an issue. Get your butt down there and get your ballot early so it won't be an issue. And it wouldn't be a problem. Everybody's panicking, and that's our problem. We complain and complain and complain, but we don't want to do the work. We want everybody else to do the work. Well, my ballot didn't get certified. Wow, you had 80 days to make sure that you're on the voting roll. You had 80 days. Why are you waiting before the day before? Now, what are they going to tell you? You can't vote here because you're not registered. What do you mean I'm not registered? Hey, it's a little too late in the game. So that's what we're going to be telling you on the war zone as well. Vote now, get your butt down there and make sure you are registered to vote, because come election day or whatever, it's going to be too late. And get your vote in early, and it won't even matter. If he tries to slow it down, it won't matter. If you get your early ballot, it won't matter. Okay? Hey, you guys, Do not forget, Monday through Friday, the War Zone, 5 o'clock. I am with the 5-star General, Jerry.